So today I have an honor and pleasure to talk to Isabel, our first artist who agreed to collaborate with INNO Drinks. We will be covering topics of her artistic way, her career as an artist, her challenges, and of course our collaboration. Isabel, thank you so much for being with us, and thank you so much for collaborating with us. It's an honor.
No, it's my pleasure.
You've been an artist for many, many years, and of course you had a very long career, and I would like to go back to when you decided to be an artist. What moved you and how you ended up doing sculpture as your practice?
Well, I come from a scientific family. I was born in Lagos, Nigeria, where my father was a surgeon working there. And I really grew up surrounded by art. You know, my parents were very, very interested in tribal art, in the work that they found in Lagos. And really it was nothing historical. They would go down to markets and they would buy the work from craftspeople. You know, craftspeople who needed to be supported. And that's really where we come today, you know. So I grew up with this work. My parents also collected pre-Columbian terracottas, and they were very often given to my father, who did a lot of work in Latin America as gifts. And so I grew up in this lovely environment where African carving and pre-Columbian terracottas were central to what I was looking at. So from a very young age, I was very aware that other people's energy interested me. And then it developed into utilising my own energy in a material way. And so I went to university to study fine art. My first degree was at the Faculty of Fine Art at Hull University. And then I came to London to study a pure sculpture at St Martin's in their advanced course. And I was lucky enough to be taught by people like Tony Caro, Philip King, Francisco Gazitua, Tim Scott, and Alan Gauck. And they really showed me how the language of sculpture could be utilised in my own ideas. And that was a very exciting time for me. So I have been a sculptor for a long time, as you say. And it's a very exciting life in your studio, and it's very hard to get recognition or to have other people look at your work outside of that.
I can imagine that, and especially with such a large-scale art that you practice, it must be hard to get into galleries and to get your work shown. How did you cope with ups and downs? What kept you going? Because artistic career is not an easy path.
It isn't, no. So, I mean, other than working in my studio, you know, I have some very concrete ideas about the kind of forms I want to make. People offer you opportunities. I mean, it's very interesting because if we help each other, then the language grows. And I am very grateful to those people who have given me opportunities. And it's taken a very long time to really crystallize the kind of opportunity that I want. So making public sculptures like this is a very important part of what I do. And this was an invitation from Westminster Council to make a sculpture for Berkeley Square. So this sculpture was designed for Berkeley Square, and it was designed to go in a Sylvanian setting of trees and historic buildings. She is called Pop, and she fitted really well in Berkeley Square. And it was very, very nice because Pop has her own fan club.
Yeah,
you know?
I remember it standing there. Actually, it was just, you know, right on the spot. It was really, the whole thing is actually, it looks like a standing meditation.
I mean, she is a delightful sculpture, you know, and I'm very, very proud of her. I've never worked with mosaic before, and I did have help from a specialist, you know, with this. And Tamara Wright is a fantastic mosaic sculptor who helped me with Pop. She has a fan club because people wrote to me to say, I want you to know that I have my lunch every day next to Pop, and that every time I walk to work, I walk via Berkeley Square to touch Pop. And children have written to me to say that their picnic, you know, their visit to London was enhanced because they met this sculpture. And so, you know, that's exactly what I want, you know. So I want my sculptures to be touched. I want them to have some kind of meaning. So everyone brings their own idea. You know, art is of course subjective, people bring their own ideas and their own feelings to it, and that's a really delightful position, you know, to be in, because you can make a form and everyone interprets it in their own way. So people say to me, is pop a tree? Is pop a flower? You know, and pop is all of those things, you know, because you'll bring your own ideas to her. So she was a wonderful sculpture to have in that setting. So pop was there for nearly 2 years, and now she's may well go to Heathrow Airport. She may well go to a big park in London. So that's under negotiation. And I hope to find a similar setting, the one that she was designed for, hopefully with trees, with significant buildings around her, because she can take that, you know, and she will create her own environment, because wherever pop is, even here, when students come to our carving school, you know, they tend to gravitate towards pop. And it's very nice that she is such a warm and huggable thing, you know, that you do feel like that. But also the quality of the mosaic has been phenomenal, because she's been outside for several years and she's come back absolutely untouched by the weather.
But this form seems to be a very yours, so it's your signature form.
It is a bit.
And this particular piece is just adding the movement and all of these patterns and everything. What the initial form means to you? What is it about?
I think that a lot of sculptors have a form that they're obsessed with. Yeah. Actually, you know, it recurs. Yeah. Henry Moore certainly did that, Picasso certainly did that, and my own way of doing it, and lots of sculptors that I admire have an obsessive kind of form. And it's a form that I just dream about, you know, these undulations, you know, the way that, you know, she comes in and out of herself, you know, these kinds of forms, very important to me. So give me a piece of clay and at some point I will produce this kind of form. But having said that, when I work in steel, the forms are quite different. So when I work in clay, the forms are quite different. So responding to the material and what that material can say is actually very important to me.
Yeah, amazing. I think it makes you stop, actually, and pay attention, which is very rare, especially in such surroundings as Mayfair.
Well, I'm delighted that you saw that in pop, as many other people did too. But what pop does to me as a sculptor is very much what I believe in as the principle of Hampstead School of Art. So making art available to people, you know, putting art in the public space, making it accessible so that people can be either inspired by it or made happy by it. I mean, laughing is a very important part of my life. You know, I like that. You know, I think it's to be able to put that into people's lives is great. So my job as in Hampstead School of Art is also to make art accessible. And in a way, the two things are symbiotic, you know. So I'm often a public sculptor, sometimes I'm a studio sculptor, but often I'm a public sculptor. So that creates a position where galleries without walls, you know, and the fact that, you know, often people have to pay to go and see art hurts me. And so to be able to put art in the public space and create a gallery without walls is very important. I think making those things accessible, art learning accessible, art accessible, is the same thing for me. It's the same part of my life.
Yeah, absolutely. The way you talk about it is like, I can understand that your core belief is actually knowing that art can change the world. Art can definitely change someone's life, and you practice it, and also you are giving an opportunity to others to do the same. Your students who come to Hampstead School of Art, some come from, I know that you do this programs when some homeless people or some people who cannot afford come to the art school and they can learn something new. And this is amazing what you do. And can you tell us more, actually, because this is something I really admire you for. And this is something I think that we initially got to know each other on that topic.
That's true. I know that you support that. And, you know, every human being is creative at some level, you know, and to give people an opportunity to be creative, I think, is a gift, you know, and it's a gift that we give each other. You know, we give it when we're parents, you know, we give it when we're friends, you know, to encourage that in others and to make it possible. So actually it goes back into antiquity. You know, when the Egyptians made the pyramids, When the Venus of Willendorf, was found in Germany, and it's a celebration of femininity and of the female body. I mean, it's a wonderful thing. Contemporary artists like Jenny Saville use that kind of imagery of the Venus of Willendorf and celebrate, women's bodies. And it can be done through art, and that message can be done through art. The importance of actually being natural, actually being who we are and expressing ourselves. So a Stonehenge, which is probably my most favourite sculpture ever, of course, it is of such an important global symbol, that to place stones and make them accessible to people, in that kind of way, is a fundamental element in the way that I work. We have to make art accessible, and we have to encourage creativity in people, because through creativity we discover ourselves, and through feeling the work of others we also know more about ourselves.
Yeah, 100%, I agree with you. And not just encouraging people to look at art, but also encouraging people practicing art, and not being afraid to choose art as their profession or their life path or just their hobby, because I know sometimes it's intimidating. Will I be good? Will I be bad? Can I do that? I know that you also organized the London Sculpture Prize to encourage more people to be visible for the art that they do, to be known. And can you tell us more about that?
So I know lots of artists who beaver away in their studios and make really wonderful work, and it's not often seen. So how do you create an opportunity where artists have been working away, and they've been working away in this very serious, creating their own personal language, and nobody gets to see that work? And I visit a lot of artist studios, and I think, wow, why is this not seen? This is so inspiring to people. So the London Sculpture Prize, which you so very generously support, is about creating visibility. So artists who have been beavering away in their studios and know that they have a piece of work that perhaps nobody has seen, that they would like to share with the public, can submit it to London Sculpture Prize. And we have a wonderful group of international judges who are very experienced in selecting work, who know where quality lies, and we are looking for the quality work. We'll have the opportunity, to exhibit at the beautiful Gunnersbury Museum this year. So it often seems to me, and people say to me, why do the same artists get the big opportunities? Well, it's understandable to a certain extent that you know that there's a reliable quality source there, but actually there are lots of artists out there who have that quality, who can deliver quality, and to be able to show their work, I think, is very exciting. And, work is coming into us now from Australia, from South Korea, from China. It's very exciting to have work sent to us internationally, so that we can also get to see the language of other artists from other countries. And it's a very similar, the sculptural language, because the language of form and plasticity, three-dimensionality, it's what sculptors are speaking, and it's an absolute delight to see it and to bring it together. And when I was reviewing the sculptures that our judges have selected, I realised that in bringing those sculptures together, we actually create another entity. An exhibition itself creates a kind of a new sculpture, but it's a sculpture of lots of different parts, contributed by lots of different people from around the world. I mean, it's terribly exciting.
Yeah, so it's like an act in itself, right?
It is.
Getting together, coming together.
Work. I mean, wow.
Yeah, amazing. This is wonderful, actually. I think it's a great opportunity for other artists, and some of them probably don't even have galleries that represent them.
Absolutely not. No.
So art world can oftentimes art world is very unfair, and it's very hard to be seen, it's very hard to sell. And I think artists are one of very few professions that don't get paid for their work.
Absolutely.
And I believe that it has to change somehow, because we all need art in our daily lives. It's something that takes us out of our thoughts, of our fixation on the results, on, I don't know, whatever it is we're aspiring to. But art sometimes can make us stop and,
I think so.
and admire or look deeper or probably maybe notice something that we don't see. And artists are the people who can actually channel something.
And it can be stimulated, abstraction in America, abstract expressionism, came out of the German abstraction movement, the expressionist movement. And it's because the government gave artists a fund, that abstract expressionism was born. And I think that, we are responsible for creating culture. Culture in this country, the art culture, generates billions of pounds, in revenue every year. And that needs to be stimulated. Yeah. So in our own way, we are stimulating a new way of working, through our collaboration and the collaboration of other patrons who are supporting London Sculpture Prize. We are starting a new movement, and that is a movement of encouragement. Yeah. It's a movement of reward. Artists do need money, and I am committed to putting money into sculptors' pockets because that's what they need. Absolutely. They also need opportunity, and London Sculpture Prize creates that opportunity. And so both those things, when they are symbiotic, can actually meaningfully drive forward new work and new culture, which then enriches our communities and generates revenue for everyone.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, because as I see the art world today, the demand doesn't meet the income. So many artists are left behind. Some of them is just their practice is not very sellable. Some of them just don't know how to promote themselves. Some of them just are unlucky generally. But still, there are people who might benefit from that a lot. Just general public who don't get even to know what's going on in there. So I feel like art world is a bit isolated from everyone else.
It's either isolated or it's over commercialized.
Yeah,
so
true.
I will run a mile from commercialization because you don't want to endlessly repeat yourself either. You don't want to become wallpaper. So what I like about collaborating with you is that I think on your design, on the INNO coffee design box, my sculpture retains its integrity as a sculpture. And that's a very clever bit of design work from your team. If it had become wallpaper, that would have been less interesting for me, but actually it retained its integrity as its original piece of work. So I don't want to make wallpaper, I want to make sculpture. And you've been able to do that with your product. So that sensitivity to an artist's work, I think, is also very important. And I think you have achieved that with your product.
Well, this is definitely what we are thinking a lot about. So we want to take art out of the galleries, but we don't want to use it as a commodity. We want it to be what it is and what it was initially made for, to engage with people, to touch people, yes. to kind of carry the message. And for us, of course, I was a bit worried when we started that many artists would be sort of scared to put their art on the coffee packaging, because of course we know how snobbish art world might be, and we know that many artists, especially the ones who are just starting their career, are scared to do a wrong move, to show their works in the wrong gallery or a wrong space, or go into public spaces. So there is a certain path which seems to be like the must, and I was a bit worried that it might be not so straightforward for many artists to just do that. And I'm really grateful that you agreed for that. And I'm so proud that we managed to have our first artist collaboration with a sculptor, not with some painter or graphic artist, because I think this is also very important to see all art forms, not just fine art.
That is the magic of our collaboration. I mean, I'm delighted because the very box that you create is a three-dimensional form. That three-dimensional form is a very sculptural thing for me. Yeah. So that my sculpture fits onto your three-dimensional form is very exciting, but it retains its integrity. So actually, I think, Julia, together we are creating a new way, and I think that that's how the way forward for us has to be, through collaboration, through reward for artists, through encouragement, through creating opportunity. London Sculpture Prize and INNO drinks are a marriage made in heaven.
Yes, I agree with you. I cannot agree with you more. And and right now, as I have a bit of a feedback, so we've been out on the market for 3 months, and I can tell that out of 3 packages that we have, the one with your sculpture sells the best, because people want this added value. People want art in their daily lives, and it's just so easy it doesn't cost anything for a brand. It's really easy to do this thing, and I hope as many brands as possible will follow our lead, and will just finally see something behind, I don't know, some responsibility probably, and also some possibilities behind what the usual scenario of things. So maybe you have something to say to the brands who are considering collaborating with artists. Maybe you have some ideas.
Oh, well, I do. So one of the another initiative that I have interacted with for London Sculpture Prize is a transportation company, and what's great about that is that all the sculptors around the world are going to have to transport their sculpture, are currently transporting their sculpture to London. So it makes great sense to offer those sculptors a special deal in the transportation. And so Pack and Send, very, very, very generously, and who also are interested in the language that we're talking, have offering our sculptors a special deal to transport their work. So, in offering reward, in offering acknowledgement, in putting artists' work on your branding product, in allowing artists to have a special rate to send their work in, all this creates possibility, because suddenly it's possible. You can afford it. You can afford to send your work, can afford to take part, and then you can show in a wonderful setting, which is the Gunnersbury Park in London.
Yeah, so you can even consider some other options around
Absolutely.
the world.
So, my idea is that each year we increase our collaboration.
Yeah.
I want to put £1,000 into every single sculptor's pocket.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it possible for them to continue their role, to continue their work. And there are other ideas too that I think we can talk about going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to, and we're open as a brand and as people who care about art and creativity a lot. I really hope that we continue our collaboration, and I hope it will create the ripple effect, both the London Sculpture Prize and our collaboration. Thank you so much again. It's
my pleasure.
A pleasure and honor, and I cannot thank you enough.